Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talk. This is Aadi Achint. I have with me Mr. Kanwal Sibal. Sir, firstly, namaskar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure is absolutely mine, sir. Sir, America is, taken quite a U-turn, is it? Or it's again a political game that America is playing with Pakistan and India again? The whole visit to Jammu and Kashmir has drawn a very strong reaction from Pakistan. Uh, I didn't expect it to be that strong, but they literally melted down after that documentary and, of course, the American ambassador's comments. How do you put that in perspective?
Well, you may have seen my tweets on that. Of course, it's not the first time that the U.S. ambassador has visited
Yeah.
Jammu and Kashmir. Several of them have in the past gone, the last one being Kenneth Juster. But he went as part of a larger delegation. Now, what was significant in this was only one thing, or maybe more than one, but one particular thing, which was that he said that Kashmir is an important part of India. Now, he need not have said that. I mean, he's visiting Kashmir, and by visiting Kashmir, he doesn't commit himself or the United States on the fundamental question of Kashmir's status.
Mhm.
But now he said it's an important part of India, which means implicitly that the state he has visited belongs to India. Now, there are people who are saying, he said important part of India, but he didn't say an integral part of India. But that is a very silly way of looking at it. Because if he said it's an integral part of India, then it would actually mean that POJNK is also an integral part of India. Then he's pronouncing on the status of Jammu and Kashmir, on the legal status. I mean, his visit was not intended to convey that kind of a signal that he's gone there because now the Americans have decided that the legal status of Jammu and Kashmir is such that it belongs to India. In fact, that would have been explosive if he had said that and totally contrary to US policy. And he would have been, I think, despite his relationship with Trump and with Rubio, obviously not wanting to roil him because of his closeness to Trump, they would have corrected him. Now, he said it's an important part of India, which means that instead of saying Indian administered Kashmir and nonsense like that, he recognized that this is part of India. But then, point is, when that Bloom fellow, the U.S. ambassador to Pakistan, when he went to POJNK, he talked about Azad Kashmir. The implication of that is that the other part of Kashmir is still under occupation, and this
Mm.
part of Kashmir has been freed. Right now, in a sense, he's corrected that indirectly. But I don't think we should get into a debate whether he should have said integral or not. He couldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said that. In fact, if he had said that, and if the State Department had then corrected him, it would have recoiled on us diplomatically.
Yeah.
It would have been a negative thing. So he just as well he did. In fact, I was thinking that particularly after that, first of all, I anticipated the demarche that the Pakistanis would make because in my
Mm.
tweet I said that let's see what Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif have to say on this. But they came out, as you rightly said, with a much stronger statement than I anticipated, actually directly attacking Gore, the US ambassador. Uh, now, uh, still, there is silence from the State Department and from the White House. And it's now too late for them to give any corrective kind of
Yeah.
statement saying that we've always believed that the two countries should resolve this matter bilaterally, but we're always there to help if they want to seek our help, which implicitly means that the status is not yet final, right? They haven't said that. Now, the other thing which I have pointed out and I repeat on your show is that I'm actually happy they've attacked Gore for this reason that he's wearing this hat. of special envoy to South Asia and Central Asia. Now, when it is to South Asia, the most significant country for U.S. point of view, from the U.S. point of view, is Pakistan. He has not yet visited Pakistan, and I was wondering when he does, how will he handle his hat? Because there'll be a strong reaction from India, no matter what he says there in Pakistan. Now, after having attacked him, called him irresponsible and all that, I don't think that he's welcome there, or he'll be able to go there. So it's, at least that part of the hat we can't wear anymore, which is a good thing for us. So at least as it is we have a problem with the hat he's wearing with regard to Bangladesh or Nepal or even Sri Lanka, but particularly Bangladesh, where he's been overactive. At least this Pakistan bit should normally be out of the way.
So when you look at the realities of the India, Pakistan, and USA, if I may just for the heck of this discussion, just put them in a triangle. The India has always had reservations right now with the way that the US has been treating Pakistan with that extra kid glove and everything. They were using it. That's fine. We understand that, and of course we don't like it. There's no question about it, but we do understand it. Having said that, Trump has been seen to back away from kind of not mentioning Pakistan as he does every time. In the past 3-4 times that he's given a statement about Iran, he's just omitted them. Is there some change that has taken place there? Has Pakistan basically, that incident where the Chinese were sending these manpads into Iran and all that stuff, has that triggered this? Is there some change in their policy that you see? I'm not saying they become pro-India, but not as pro-Pakistan as what they were a couple of
Well,
months ago.
a few days ago, if you recall, he once again reiterated that he had intervened and he had threatened both sides with tariffs, and that he saved, according to Shahbaz Sharif, 30 to 50 million lives. Just a few days ago, about a week ago, he said that. So it's not as if he is not saying things which are factually wrong and not very pleasant so far as we are concerned. That is one. The other is with regard to what you said about manpads. If the Americans had concluded that actually this was happening, they would have reacted and publicly. So they haven't. So I don't know whether this is accurate news or not accurate news. There are other provocations from the American point of view, because the Iranians have reached out to Pakistan, and now they talked about energy ties and these whole range of ties that they want to develop with Pakistan. And now you have Trump and especially Scott Bessent saying that we will punish any country that has any kind of dealing with Pakistan. In fact, he's threatening to ruin the economies of those countries who do that. So I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, whether Asim Munir, who seems to have invested enormously, and Pakistan and Shahbaz Sharif in Trump and America, will take the risk of cozying up visibly with Iran. So I can't make up my mind whether there is any reality in these news. Now, with regard to Iran, the Iranians are, in their own way, very subtle diplomats. Now, they don't want to be pushed into a position where they see this new Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia pact as directed against them. This is sensible. Why should they? They know what the reality is. They can reach the right conclusion. But why say it? Because if they say it, then diplomatically, it closes a lot of doors for them. So they can pretend that, no, it's not directed against us. And then in order to sound reasonable and make Pakistan's task more difficult, and also, try and, in a sense, dilute the Pakistan-Saudi ties if possible. They're being very soft on Pakistan, reaching out to Pakistan. And Pakistan has to take into account a lot of things when it deals with Iran. So it's a subtle diplomatic game that is that's going on. Now, the other thing you mentioned is that the United States has been using Pakistan. Now, point is that this has gone on since 1948. Huh? So, so it's not as if anything new. Now, do you call it using Pakistan, or there is a long-term strategic investment in Pakistan, which has its ups and downs,
Yeah.
which has its ups and downs, and they have forgiven Pakistan a lot, including Osama bin Laden and their involvement in the 9/11 and this and that, and of course the Afghanistan Taliban killing of U.S. Military personnel because of the support that Pakistan gave to the Taliban, etc., etc. So they have forgiven him a lot. So I don't think it's a question of using. I think they have long taken a strategic decision that Pakistan is very crucially located. It can be used by them. Earlier it was Russia and China, uh, but with their own relations with China having developed enormously, they have overlooked the fact that Pakistan has reached out to China. In fact, has become China's biggest partner in our region, and the United States is overlooking this.
Mm.
So uh, now, with regard to the Saudi Pakistan Defense Pact, there is a feeling that given my favorite field marshal syndrome that Trump has, there is no way that this could have been done without the knowledge and encouragement of United States. United States has always tried to use Pakistan as an Islamic country for their diplomacy in the Islamic world, west of us, in West Asia. Uh, and then it's a nuclear weapon state, which is always a matter of concern to the United States. So I don't think they, in a way, yes, you can say that they use them, but then one can also say they use us also, or they use everybody in order to advance their own interests. And if Trump is transactional, then that's the ultimate way of looking at countries with an eye on their usefulness, what you can extract from them. I'm afraid we should not uh, how should I say, uh, we should not underestimate the commitment the United States has to Pakistan, which spans several decades.
The main structure between the two countries, or one country and a keep, if I may, sorry for that, but I call it the keep of America, has been a relationship where US has taken what it needed to and dumped some money in Pakistan and kind of just, okay, you take this and this and that. Recent developments in Pakistan kind of show us a little differently. Asim Munir seems to be taking power on a pretty large scale as far as um, the the country is concerned. He's been basically taking up everything now that he's done that 27th Amendment. Of course, all this will be happening with the patronage of the Americans right now, with the field marshal and all that. So, what do you think? I mean, the Americans are tolerating this, or they have a larger plan here, sir?
Why should they have it? Particularly Trump, why should they have any worry about this? Or for that matter, the Americans. After all, this is not the first time that military has taken over Pakistan. I mean, half their national life has been under military rule.
Mhm.
And they have been very Ayub Khan and Yahya Khan and Wad Khan, Musharraf and stuff like that. So they're quite comfortable with this. In fact, it's quite clear. It's always been clear, but even more clear now, that they look upon the armed forces as their principal interlocutor in Pakistan, not the civilian establishment, because they know it's the military that really governs Pakistan and determines the political process. And most importantly, the civilian leadership has no control over the nuclear weapons. It's only the military that does.
Yeah.
So for them, uh, if their favorite field marshal, who's obviously very nimble in terms of his strategy, now that is he's a favorite of the Americans, he thought that the time was ripe for him to take the step he has taken. So he's gone ahead and accumulated all the power in his hands. And if you notice that Trump, when he addresses the Pakistanis or whatever, he mentions Field Marshal Munir first and then talks about Shehbaz Sharif.
Mm.
So it's quite clear that they have no. And if Pakistan is a militarized state, and it's a military state, then the usefulness of Pakistan is determined by the military uses that the United States can uh, put it to. Put it use the military use that they can put Pakistan to in terms of advancing their own interests. And therefore, I think a stronger military grip over power is not a problem. Now, the other thing is, especially with Trump, he says, "Oh, I get along wonderfully well with Kim Jong Un." Who is in the Western world treated as the emblematic of an authoritarian, dictatorial regime, which totally uh, against any form of giving any role to the people or democracy or stuff like that. Now, when when he talks about Kim Jong Un with such friendliness in such a positive way, so why should he have any problem with General Munir, Field Marshal Munir, doing what he is doing? Trump is not bothered about democracy and stuff like that. He is not. So if the Pakistani democracy is further brought under the heels of the military, I don't think he's particularly bothered about it.
How should India look at this, sir? This guy waltz in here. He's been meeting all the chief ministers and stuff like that. Interestingly, there was a lot of hue and cry about him going into JNK, but when this statement came out, everybody was like happily surprised. It looked a little demanded, did it, sir?
It looked a little demanded.
Yeah, we've probably asked them.
Now, let me put it this way: that I was initially had also tweeted on this, not in favor. Not in favor. That's not the wrong way of putting it. I was a bit surprised that he chose to visit Jammu and Kashmir at this point in time, when there are quite a few wrinkles in our relationship with the United States. In the context of precisely what we've been discussing, Trump's fascination with General Munir, whose views on India and everything else are pretty well known. His wanting to mediate, and that is most important, between India and Pakistan on Kashmir. And given Gore's linkages with the White House and personal relationship with Trump, it could have been interpreted that he's gone there to sort of assess the situation, see what the political trends are, how stable the whole thing is, is there any room for United States and Trump to play the role, and whether he can cozy up to Trump, cozy up to Trump by sort of feeding him information about Kashmir and stuff like that. So I had thought that there was no urgency on his part to visit Jammu and Kashmir, that he could have waited till some of the wrinkles in our relationship has been smoothened. And then maybe he could have, because earlier US ambassadors have also visited Jammu and Kashmir, but he chose to do so. But you're right. He's been sort of over enthusiastic about the beauty of Kashmir, and a lot of PR, Shikara ride and stuff like that. And then two things he said which are important. One, of course, we've discussed. That's an important part of India. and other that the security situation is much better, and then they'll see how uh, they can change their advisory so that more American tourists can go to Jammu and Kashmir, which again hits at the Pakistani propaganda about the people in Jammu and Kashmir being brutalized and being suppressed and stuff like that. So to that extent, yes, he's been helpful. So therefore, I'm not surprised that people who may have had, including me, had some reservations about the timing of his visit, um, can conclude that some of the statements he's made are helpful in countering Pakistan's propaganda. And see, the other thing is it's interesting. You know, if even what he said, he didn't say integral part and stuff like that, which would have certainly prompted the State Department to correct him. But Pakistan has issued a very strong démarche, but there is no reaction from the United States. Reason being that if they did that, there'll be two things. One is they'll undo all the good things, perceived good things that have emerged from the visit with Gore saying that statement. And secondly, it will be disowning Gore. Actually, it will be disowning Gore, that he's exceeded his brief, that he's taken his relationship with Trump, or he made a misstep. For a moment, it seemed that and that's what the report said, that his visit to Ladakh has been postponed. But eventually he went to Ladakh. Because if he had postponed, it would have indirectly meant that he has been rapped on the knuckles and saying enough is enough, now he'll come back, come away from that region. But no, he went and met and visited the Buddhist sites, the monasteries and all, although he did not meet the Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama. It's an interesting change of tact, which I kind of see. And Trump, after that, mentioning about the Indian election system and this and that, and I'm like, wow, he's really, kind of taking a U-turn in his statements at least, which is
Yeah, but he takes U-turns every day, several times on everything. I mean, this is a minor issue. Well, in America, it's a big issue because the electoral system is so, how should I say, it's not credible because they have these votes by post, and then people don't have voting identity cards, and elections have been contested. The Supreme Court has had to intervene. Can you imagine, in the world's foremost democracy, so-called? The one thing that makes a democracy a real democracy is the electoral process, which has to be fair.
Yeah.
And not subject to questioning in terms of voter fraud and stuff like that. But in America, you've had that contested election. So he has used that for domestic politics. But if you look at far more pressing international issues, he says one thing at 1 a.m. and another thing at 3 a.m., another thing at 6 a.m., and something else during the course of the day. Is all contradictory.
Is it his way of kind of trying to mosey in, get some space with Modi somewhere around the line, get some space with Modi before his?
I don't think so. I don't think so that he's consciously doing it.
But what's the purpose of this whole outreach then? If what changed between Sergio Gore's visits here? Because the trade deal is not done. There's no deals which are happening. The trust deficit is right there. What's changed with all this? I mean,
nothing has changed.
What are they trying to do?
Nothing has changed. A few things. One is that, as you rightly said, the trade deal is in a limbo. The Section 301 tariffs, there is no movement forward. In fact, we have gone to the WTO on that. We have on other issues which are of concern to us, the Americans are doing exactly the kind of things that alienate us, India. This includes H-1B visas or the general anti-Indian, anti-Hindu things that we see in certain sections of the MAGA base of Trump. Uh, and I think this Turkey-Pakistan Saudi Defense Pact has the blessing of the Americans. Uh, Now, when Scott Bessent and Trump say that anybody dealing in any way with Iran would be sanctioned and et cetera, et cetera, this again means that our own equities with Iran, whether Chabahar or International North Corridor, or what we are actually trading with Iran, because humanitarian goods could be traded, and we were trading with them. All that is not possible. So, and with this defense pact again, he is creating issues, difficulties for us. So, if you look at the broad strategic picture, he's not done anything which gives us any sense of comfort strategically in our region, or to the west of us, or to the east of us, even in Bangladesh. So, I and then I know he says, which is a good thing. He's keeping at some level his doors open with the Prime Minister Modi. He speaks positively about him, but then he speaks positively also about Kim Jong Un. So I mean, either he's a serious politician. So when he says that he gets along with Modi, then we give value to what he says. But then he says if he gets along with all kinds of people, then this is his way of doing diplomacy. There's nothing behind it. It's fraud. It's a fraud. So, but having said that, I would say that from both sides, they kept the doors open so that if they meet, they can still have a useful, friendly conversation, which is a good thing. And I think the Prime Minister has been very wise in not reacting to what Trump has done, in effect, in terms of hurting our interests and his fascination with Pakistan. So, because the relationship remains very, very important, there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, we have to swallow a few things and keep the larger picture in mind, bide our time, hope that after he goes away, things may become somewhat better. So there it is.
Let me twist a certain fact here. So now, I mean, the tensions between India and Pakistan are not coming down at all. The water is not happening. Pakistan, I know for a fact, has been lobbying with the Americans quite a bit to get one statement out of the Americans with regards to the water. They've been trying, no success. I guess I don't know what it is. The counter lobbying is good, or whatever is happening there it's just not working out. Having said that, as you said, the relationship remains sticky between both the countries, the Americans and India. The relationship is extremely sticky. I won't call it sticky. I would call it extremely sticky. Especially the people in India have no appetite for a relationship with the Americans right now. It's just not there. But that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt India a little bit, yes, of course. But that's also going to hurt the Americans as well. Big trading partner, China, BRICS is coming up, where Trump lost his marbles last time during the SEO. I don't know Xi Jinping is coming or not, but Putin will be there. So that's another thing. So how is this basically trying to keep India amused a little bit?
Well, I think all that you've said is true, but Americans are hurting their interests far more deeply and far more durably in other areas, which is far more meaningful in terms of their global power. I mean, the whole manner in which he has dealt with Iran, it has really eroded enormously America's prestige. I mean, America is caught. Of course, it has the power to destroy. But then after that, what? Then the manner in which, look at what's happening with Canada. Now, the talks have broken down. It's 50% tariffs on Canada. He's come back on Greenland. In fact, an American company without permission landed up in Greenland. to dig for oil. With Europe, there is no meeting of minds. On Ukraine, he's not on the same wavelength as the Europeans are. So he just he just announced, I'm going to cancel uh, the military exercises with South Korea because they're unnecessarily provocative to North Korea. So, so if you look at the totality of America's statements, positions, policies, uh, I think there can be a reasonable argument that they are deeply hurting their own interests. So,
Because India is a big thing that actually, I mean, a lot of these guys have been working on India for a long time to get kind of, close to India, get the demographic dividend, get some investments going. Forget the geopolitical angle of it. It's good for business.
but that is continuing because the U.S. corporate sector uh, is still interested in India. Uh, from what I can gather, uh, that part of the relationship is still positive. Maybe investments have slowed down for this reason or that reason, but the interest is there. And the US mega technology companies have great interest in India because India is the biggest market. So the question really is that why is it that the US corporate sector has not been more vocal in terms of uh, trying to correct the course of White House's uh, India policy? But they are themselves intimidated by Trump. Coincidentally, uh, when we're talking about the prospects of our relationship, what's happened to the so-called bipartisan consensus in the U.S. Congress in favor of India? They've gone ahead and 86 to 11, they have passed a resolution imposing 100% tariffs on India, China, and three other countries. The House will certainly go along. And then he'll have this waiver rights, which we'll use as a sword of democracies on our heads, so that they can extract more concessions from us. So, no, I'm afraid I can't see I can't see much of a rationale for U.S. alienating India for no reason. Uh, India is India. India is not going to be a part of military alliance. India is not going to put all its eggs in the U.S. basket. India will continue to see if it can exercise its strategic autonomy as much as possible. It will continue to be member of BRICS and SCO. It will continue its relationship with Russia. It will keep the doors open to China despite difficulties. So it will try and carve out a role for it, international role for itself, including the global South, which does not fit into the way America wants India to be. So they should be realistic about it. There's nothing new. It goes right from the date of non-alignment. Haven't they learned their bloody lesson? That even during the Cold War, we kept our options open. So why should we close our options today?
Yeah. And the biggest point that I take from you is that instead of being nice to India, working with India, you're basically alienating a country that you can take a lot of strategic benefit out of.
You're right. You're right. But I have a little. No, you're right. I agree with you. But the other point is, if we ask ourselves honestly, how close do we want to become to the United States?
No, I mean,
Yes. There's great value in the relationship.
mhm.
At a broad level, it's the most important relationship. But it remains a viable relationship and a relationship of great value, provided we can balance it with our relationship with others. Otherwise, we become a semi-vassal state. The
Exactly.
more they embrace us, including investments and everything else, the more levers they have to make sure that you fit into their view of how your foreign policy should be conducted. They'll have more
Mm.
levers in their hand. So I would say that yes, keep your doors open to the United States, but don't close your doors elsewhere.
Yeah. And the worst part is that, and this is my last question to you, sir. When you look at the Indo-Pacific today, I mean, they've changed that Pacific, and we've already spoken about it. Uh, India seems to be moving ahead with its own relationships with Japan, with Australia, with its, Philippines, Vietnam, defense, this, that, and the other. There's a whole lot which is happening. If you actually see that the relationship with Japan has absolutely improved after Trump being there, because of the way that these people have this thing. So they've actually created, if I may venture a certain angle, that they've actually created more space for India to do its own thing by behaving like a, I'm sorry to use the word, but a complete douchebag.
Well, it's interesting. Mind you, and I had given that argument if you read my old articles, that one great advantage we had when we started improving our relationship with the United States was that the allies of the United States started taking much greater interest in India. And this included Japan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Japan, yes, on the ODA business and this and that,
Yeah.
otherwise, there's not much happening between the two countries. Now, what has happened is that Trump has upset these countries, and they don't have any confidence now that they can rely on the United States for their
Mm.
security. So they have to look elsewhere. And elsewhere means precisely what you said, tie up with countries like India, broaden their options. But let's not overstate the degree to which Japan and Australia will become close to India to the extent that it sends signals to the United States that they are walking out of their orbit.
Mm.
They, and Japan has its own problems of the constitution and everything else. I think we are wise because Japan now wants to increase their defense budget. They want to develop their own arms industry. They're doing certain things which are annoying the Chinese a great deal. Um, they are now willing to sell weapons, uh, or wep- rather defense material to other countries. So, to the extent that some of these things are being opened, we should take full advantage. But let's see how much concretely India and Japan can do in terms of joint programs in the defense area. Now, we've got one project, that radar business, that we are trying to develop together. That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
So let's
I
see.
mean, I'd hope it would kind of improve a little bit. So, overall, I really feel that the Americans have they've ruined 30 years of their own effort, and they find themselves in a very funny position where they don't know how to react to this. They understand that they've screwed it up, so they're going for small appeasements, harder. The confusing policies. One, small appeasements. Two, hit them, punish them. No, 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 you're great, you're great. It's the good cop, bad cop is becoming now pretty evident, and it's becoming stupid, if I may. Uh,
Well, I think the U.S. ambassador here is trying to do his level best to try and deflect attention away from the problems in the ties. And
yeah.
he's on a very high charged PR campaign. And he's, in fact, as U.S. ambassador, become much more engaging, is willing to engage at levels at which the U.S. ambassador has not engaged before. I mean, a particular TV journalist issues a tweet on MQ Reapers and this and that. Huh? And the US ambassador replies to that journalist, saying what you're saying is true, that kind of a thing. Uh, it's a very high voltage uh, PR campaign where he continues to talk in general terms of how the relationship is good, how it's moving forward, great things are happening at the strategic level, this and that and that. Uh, and our but nobody really questions him and by asking him about the difficulties that have been created in the relationship. But nevertheless, I think he's doing his role. He's doing his role, and that's what an ambassador's role is: to try and limit as much as possible perceptions that the relationship is in difficulty and emphasize on the positives and this and that. That's what it is. But the reality is that you know there are some, as you rightly said, some serious strategic issues between the United States and India today. And there, of course, are some very positive elements. So if the US ambassador concentrates on the positive elements, is fine. That also reflects the truth of the situation. But there is behind this truth a large part which doesn't conform to this positive picture that is sought to be conveyed about the state of Indo-US ties.
Thank you, sir, so much. Very, kind of you to take out time. And of course, it's always a pleasure to actually have you on the platform and learn from you. It's very interesting times as far as geopolitics is concerned, although everybody is just focused inwards right now because of internal security. Pluses and minuses both are happening at the same time. But we must not forget that there's a larger game where these internal security challenges are exploited by these powers around the place. And we need to be very, very vigilant about it as well. So I think your reservation about his movements and all that were because of that as well. So thank you. Always a pleasure, sir. And I'll see you back very, very soon. To the audience, please follow Sir on Twitter. Sir writes quite a bit, and Sir has a Substack as well, which will be there in the comments, so you can check that out as well. And of course, like and subscribe to this channel. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you.